If you're looking to buy property down in Cape Coral, Florida, there's a hidden reality you absolutely need to know about. It's this unique complexity that frankly catches a lot of new buyers completely off guard, and it all revolves around something called water assessments. Here is our agenda for today. We're going to cover the Cape Coral UEP explained, checking your property status, breaking down the costs, paying your water assessments, and finally, the impact on home purchases. We're going to understand the city's phased infrastructure program. Now, to really grasp what's happening today, we kind of need to look back at the history. Early development of Cape Coral actually began way back in 1957. And unlike a lot of cities, utilities were installed super gradually, mostly focusing on the established southern sections first. So decades later, as the city just exploded and expanded outward, massive chunks of the northern areas were left relying purely on private well and septic systems. Fast forward to the present day, and the city is now rolling central services outward in planned, staggered phases. And that brings us to the city's big solution, the Utilities Extension Project, or UEP for short. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a phased infrastructure program that extends central utilities right into those older well and septic areas. Now, because every property in a designated area gets this massive infrastructure upgrade, the cost is shared among those specific properties. And that shared cost? That's exactly what the city officially calls a water assessment. So what exactly are you paying for? The UEP assessment pays for potable water lines, sewer collection lines, and really interestingly, reclaimed irrigation, which locals often call the purple pipe. It also covers heavy infrastructure, things like lift stations, fire hydrants for vastly improved safety, restoring the roads after they literally dig them all up, and various capacity fees. It is essentially a total neighborhood upgrade.
Moving on to Section 2, checking your property status and identifying exactly where your property falls on the timeline.
Basically, there are three possible UEP categories. First, if a home is in a completed area, the pipes are already in the ground, and the assessment is either fully paid off or the financing simply transfers to the buyer. Then you have an active area, where the dirt is actively moving and the final bill has been officially set. But take a look at the future area. These are mapped out but not yet funded. So, a property here might actually have a much lower purchase price today, and it lets you enjoy the independence and potentially lower ongoing utility costs of private well and septic for years to come.
The good news? You don't have to guess which category a home falls into. As a buyer, you can easily verify this yourself to get a crystal clear financial picture. All this information is completely public and totally accessible to you.
All right, Section 3, breaking down the costs. Let's talk about what to expect financially.
Now it's time to talk real numbers. 10,000. That is the square footage of a standard Cape Coral lot. And for a standard 10,000 square foot lot, the total assessments in recent UEP phases have generally ranged in the tens of thousands of dollars.
The assessment amounts are based on actual project costs and the specific year that particular phase was engineered and funded. So every new UEP area gets its very own official, standardized cost breakdown based entirely on the current scope of work.
Section 4. Paying your water assessments. Let's look at the two main options. If you buy a home that has an outstanding assessment, you're probably wondering, how on earth do I handle that debt? You basically have two paths here. Option 1 is pay in full. You just prepay the entire remaining balance right up front, and boom, it is permanently cleared from the tax bill. But option 2 is incredibly popular, finance over time. With this, you pay the assessment via scheduled, predictable annual line items right on your property tax bill, typically spread out over 20 to 30 years. This means that massive upfront cost doesn't hit you all at once. Now, if you do choose to finance, you're going to encounter the term non-ad valorem charges. Let's demystify that piece of financial jargon real quick. These are simply fees added to an annual property tax bill for specific local improvements, like in this case, your water and sewer lines. They are completely separate from your traditional property value taxes. The key takeaway? They are predictable, manageable costs, definitely not random tax penalties.
On to Section 5, impact on home purchases. We'll cover negotiating and securing your loan.
So how do these water assessments actually play out when you're sitting at the closing table? Well, the absolutely crucial point is this. While assessments are entirely negotiable between the buyer and the seller, the local norm in Cape Coral dictates that buyers typically assume the remaining finance balance of the assessment. In fact, lots of listings are already priced with that exact expectation built right in. But keep in mind, a really seasoned agent might still find some room to negotiate based on shifting markets or unique property situations.
Which naturally brings us to a huge question that causes a ton of anxiety for buyers when it comes to mortgage underwriting. Do water assessments affect loan approval? I mean, will owing tens of thousands of dollars to the city just completely wreck your debt-to-income ratio? The simple answer is no. And here's exactly why. Lenders do not treat unpaid UEP balances as personal debt. Because the assessment is legally attached to the physical property itself and not to you as the individual borrower, lenders evaluate it just like standard property taxes. They just take that annual installment amount and include it right in your total monthly housing payment. Easy as that.
Finally, Section 6, the ultimate guide, covering local expertise and resources. The City of Cape Coral UEP map tool at capecoral.gov/UEP will show you exactly where the project lines are drawn. For independent finance information, you gotta check out ccuep.com. And to look up current tax bills, always verify with the Lee County Property Appraiser at lipa.org.
And honestly, having a true local expert in your corner is without a doubt your best resource. If you want clear, confident guidance evaluating these assessments and comparing different neighborhoods, definitely reach out to Cape Coral real estate expert Shelby Tompkins at Schooner Bay Realty. You can reach her directly at 239-464-2278. She understands this UEP system inside and out and can absolutely help you negotiate these balances effectively.
Check out those resources we mentioned and step into the housing market feeling fully empowered and informed.